Lawyer and human rights activist Inibehe Effiong, who's joining me on the news to discuss the suspension of Godwin Emefiele. Thank you very much for joining us at this point, Inibehe Effiong. Now, looking at this, what's your take? I saw your response on social media, on Twitter. So what's your take on this suspension? How has the policies of the CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, affected the economy so far?
Good afternoon. The truth of the matter is that Mr. Godwin Emefiele, given his antecedents, given the manner in which he conducted himself and administered the affairs of the Apex Bank, my position as a Nigerian is that he was not someone with the character, with the integrity to lead the CBN. I think that is the foundation. We have to start from there. When you have the governor of the central bank of a country engage in partisan politics overtly, declare his intention to be the president of a country, and then you see vehicles customized with his image and name, and then he even goes to court to say that he had the right to run as an aspirant on the platform of a political party and also remain the governor of an institution that by very nature, and even on the basis of his mandate, but more importantly, by virtue of his enabling and establishing act, is required to have independence. When you have the governor or the head of such an institution, reduce that institution to that level of primitive politics and partisan politics, then it shows that something is wrong with the country. So I personally do not understand why he had to even remain in office till now. Now, away from his brazen act of partisanship, the leadership of Godwin Emefiele at the CBN is one that, since he was appointed, and more recently in the last few years, was riddled with allegations of infraction, corruption. There were strong allegations, which I hope will be properly investigated, because it is one thing to say Emefiele has been suspended. It is another thing to convince Nigerians that the conduct, the act that he perpetuated while in office are properly investigated. Now, there were allegations, for example, that the CBN was basically giving dollars, a foreign exchange, to persons and individuals in a manner that was not consistent with what is supposed to be the forex regime of the country. By that I mean, there were strong allegations that some persons who are politically exposed under Emefiele were being given preferential treatment in accessing dollars. Now, we also saw the way that the parallel market and even the official exchange rate and the parallel exchange rate was basically jeopardized. We saw how Godwin Emefiele was inconsistent, even in terms of interest rates. So the CBN under him did not have sound and sensible monetary policies. I am not an economist, but as a Nigerian who sees how the economy fared in the last few years, I cannot, in all honesty, exonerate Emefiele from the bastardization of the economy. So I believe very strongly that it should be investigated. We should look into the books, the documents at the CBN. We should trial every transaction that was carried out, particularly as it relates to dollars.
Okay, so let's...
Emefiele must account for every dollar that came to his possession in the CBN, and the persons who received those dollars or were given an opportunity to exchange naira for dollar when the general public did not have that opportunity. So, I feel that it's removed, that is suspension is in the interest of the country. However, we must also make the point that by virtue of Section 11 of the CBN Act of 2007, the CBN governor can only be removed by the president with the concurrence of 2/3 of the Senate.
Yeah.
Now, the debate as to whether the suspension is legal or not would have been entirely settled in 2014 when the then President Jonathan suspended the then CBN governor Sanusi. Sanusi had gone to the Federal High Court to challenge his suspension. And then the federal government filed an objection to the suit, saying that the proper court should have been the National Industrial Court. Honorable Justice Kolawole, in his decision, determined that indeed it was the NIC, the Industrial Court, that should have heard the matter and then transferred the matter to the Industrial Court, which the federal government went on appeal, saying that it should have been either been dismissed or struck out. But the important point from that 2014 case is that the learned judge held that the CBN, being an institution created under Section 251 of the Constitution, and even under Section 254, that the CBN governor is a public officer, and that implies that he's bound by public service rules, and all public servants are subject to disciplinary process. So it does appear that the CBN governor may be suspended, even though I am of the view that because the CBN Act itself does not contemplate envisage suspension, and because the CBN ought to be independent, then maybe it is better for the president to have recourse to the Senate to have the CBN governor removed for misconduct.
So, Inibehe, so finally now, because we're out of time quickly, we have an acting CBN governor. What will be your own expectations of this person?
Sorry, can you take that again?
There is an acting CBN governor now. What would be your own expectation, looking at all you have said about the past administration of Godwin Emefiele?
I believe what is most pressing is to stabilize the exchange rate. It is quite sickening what is happening, that you have this disparity between the exchange rate of the official rate and then what is in the black market. There is need for some reconciliation. There is need for some policy aimed at harmonizing and stabilizing the exchange rate. I am also saying that even the issue of the interest rate, that the acting CBN governor should look at it. But what is of priority to me in all this is for that institution to be sanitized. It's not everything that we can say on TV, but the little I know about how the CBN has fared under Emefiele is that it had basically become a cesspool of corruption. So for that image to be clean, we have to see a very deliberate, carefully executed plan aimed at ridding the CBN of the toga and stigma of corruption.
All right,
if that is not done, the whole point of suspending Emefiele would have been wasted.
All right, we'll end it here at this point. Thank you very much for talking to us. It's been very interesting listening to you talk about this discussion. Thank you so much for talking to us this time.
Thank you.